Yep. Hey Jay, it ain't easy being cheesy, man. It ain't easy being cheesy. But we back for another episode of Hidden Takes, episode 5. And Jay, I'm gonna let you take this one. As usual, viewer discretion advised, because what?
If you can't handle the heat, stay your ass up. About to get
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir, Jay. And we back with a lot of news. I mean, just similar fashion as the last, unfortunately, as the last Hidden Takes episode we had. And that's just more COVID health and safety protocols, man. And it's just plaguing the league right now. We've seen a lot of teams going down with star players. And we saw the league implement that if you have, I think, believe two or three positive cases of players having COVID, then they have to sign a player. And we saw teams such as the Lakers signing Isaiah Thomas, which is a huge deal, and I'm glad to see him back in the lead. And we talked a little bit about that on the last episode there with Lance. But let's talk about the biggest free agent signing, and let's get right into news. That being said, Joe Johnson, the 40-year-old bucket getter, 7-time All-Star, being signed by the Boston Celtics, man. Huge deal I mean, just a legend to us as hoop heads. Joe, ISO Joe being back in the league, Jay. But talk to me a little bit about, we've seen players basically living out their dreams, like being able to, like, as much as, I've seen analysts joking about, guys being in the league. This is a G League showcase, and Reggie Miller talked about a lot about this. But a lot of this is guys getting the opportunity that they've dreamed of a lifetime. And I love the fact that teams are kind of being forced to sign guys and give them a chance. But Jay, talk to me a little bit about seeing Joe, ISO Joe, and the rest of these guys, that also him being a big name, but other guys who would have not had the opportunity to get this chance in the league.
Man, honestly, Jay, it just feels so good as hoop heads to see those OG, those veteran guys to get another chance, another shot at this. I know, like how you said, we just did that episode with Lance Make Him Dance, and Lance Stevenson got signed as well too, man. Yep. So we're just seeing a bunch of just older players be able to get signed. And honestly, Jay, it's just fun to see. It's like, man, like I remember ISO Joe when he was killing stuff when he was in Brooklyn, and it's gonna be a different ISO Joe, but I think that it's just good to bring a veteran presence around. A lot of the NBA older guys say that the NBA's current day, like the NBA today, modern day, they don't have a lot of vets. They don't like to have a lot of vets in the locker room. But this right here, I think this is going to turn the page. This is going to be the start of something new, and NBA teams are going to see the importance of having a vet in the locker room, because I think Joe Johnson's going to do wonders for a player like Jason Tatum. Both similar players, both isolations scorers, both professional bucket getters, and I think that Joe Johnson will be able to help Jason Tatum in his career trajectory.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I agree, man. Just seeing all these young guys getting a chance, and the young guy and the veterans alike, man, it's huge. I think I love it for the league. And it's kind of taking some good out of the bad. Obviously, you never want to see all these teams and all these players out, but you got to take the positives out that. And I think that's huge, having these guys back in the league. But another term order of business, another news article we got here. So Grizzlies star, Ja Morant, we all know who he is, returned to action Monday night, Jay, and against the Thunder. Obviously, it was his first action in 12 games since spraining his left knee on November 26th. Man, the Grizzlies, luckily have been playing great basketball without him, man. But having a guy like Ja back in the lineup, leads the Grizzlies in scoring at 24 points per game, and also assists. Like their leading playmaker, their leading player, their guy who, despite his deficiencies on defense, anytime you can see. He gives effort on both sides of the floor. You look at a guy like Stephen Curry, who gives effort on both sides of the floor. Paul George, obviously he's a better defender than Steph and Ja, but he gives efforts on both sides of the floor. So you need a leader like that. And seeing that, it trickles all the way down to the last guy on your bench. But Ja finished that game against the Thunder with 16, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 1 block in 28 minutes against the Thunder, which is a bad loss. But I mean, John, talk to me about Ja being back in the lineup for the Grizzlies and kind of what you saw in that game, having him back on the floor.
Yeah, man. Honestly, that was one of those games that I was like sitting on this edge of my seat, just waiting, excited to see Ja back in this great and exciting game. And it's funny that it is against the Thunder, the team that the Grizzlies beat by these 73 points.
Right.
So that was definitely a fun game to see. And like how you said, Jay, Ja Morant doesn't put up the best stat line on his return against OKC. Like how you said, 16 points and 50% from the field. But the biggest thing that I noticed actually, Jay, was, and I'm not sitting here and you actually said this the other day. You said that teams, when they don't have their star players, it's not that they're better without their star. It's not that they're better without their star players, but other role players step up in ways that they would have never had the opportunity to, and that makes the team thrive in a whole different and a new dynamic. And that's exactly what the Grizzlies were doing without Ja, man. I mean, Desmond Bane, the team was learning to run off role players like Desmond Bane, off Triple J, and they were kind of learning to play without Ja. And now that Ja comes back, I think that it is a bit of adjustment to get back to Ja leading the Grizzlies and being the focal point of that offense. But I think it's a transition that I think, even if you got to go through some rocky roads right now, it's better that when comes playoffs you have Ja Morant as your focal point of your offense instead of Desmond Bane or Triple J. But I just want to give a quick just highlight something real quick. In that game, I saw I caught some fans, and some fans were talking about like Ja Morant leave, like we're better without you, we're playing better without you, and just some stuff like that. And I think that really hurt Ja Morant because after the post game he talked a little bit about how he feels that the fans are trading on him, and then he also tweeted, I'm off socials for a while, text me if you need me. So that's like that's the tweet of a hurt man. So yeah. I just want to make sure that Ja is good over there in Memphis, man. But yeah. Overall, just definitely good to see a great player like Ja Morant back.
Nah, I agree, man. There's a lot of haters on Twitter, a lot of people who don't know basketball. And I saw recently, I don't know if you saw this, John. Did you see that video of that kid, the kid who did that like behind the back spin shot, and KD's like, man, that's terrible. That's a terrible move or whatever. I forget exactly what he said, man. But I mean, and then people were criticizing KD about that. And I heard Draymond talking about it on his podcast, man. And I'm just like, yo, if I were a kid and KD, a guy who I look up to, said, like, man, like that's a bad move. Like you can't be doing that in a game. That's not a game. That's not a move that's going to get you anywhere. And he said that, bro. I would take that I would be like, man, Kevin Durant's talking to me. Man. I'm gonna listen to whatever he says and I'm gonna change and implement that, man. And people are criticizing for him, man. But Twitter's just filled with soft people who think they know the game, man. And not even that they know the game. Like, you're entitled to your own opinion, man. But there's a certain line that people think that it's just changed. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's Absolutely. The day and age of free speech, and you want to hear from the greats, man. Anytime a legend like Kevin Durant is talking, bro, you listen. So all this backlash about him saying it's a terrible move, it is. You take it for what it is, and you make the changes, man. But I just thought I'd add that little rant, Jay. But moving on with the news that we got here, just real quick, Adam Silver obviously spoke with Malika Andrews on her show yesterday, and he said the NBA has no plans to pause the season amid the COVID-19 surge, and he just talked about how it's going to be something like there's all these solutions, there's all these problems with COVID, and he doesn't see it being fixed anytime soon. So it's not a solution of them stopping games, because if you stop games, you're going to come back right to the same problems. And he kind of, to summarize basically what he said, Jay, but kind of what are you feeling about that with all these stars? Do you think there should be a pause? Or, like, I know you talked about on the last episode, we talked about briefly with Lance and how we thought the percentage that they stopped, or the bubble and that sort of thing, but how are you still feeling? What's the temperature for you on that?
I mean, honestly, to be real with you, I think when this whole thing started, the NBA was saying that the number one priority was the players and everybody else's safety. But I mean, we kind of all knew that that was just some cover up talk, but the real of it was that they didn't want to lose money. Money was is the root of all evil. That's what runs the NBA world. That's what kind of runs the world, man. So they didn't really want to lose money, but they had to do the whole bubble thing last year. They had to do the whole bubble thing 2 years ago because it was something the world never knew. They tried the bubble experience. Some thought it was well. Some didn't think it was great. But I know the NBA didn't like it at all because they lost so much money and so much revenue. And now with this, with COVID starting to pick back up and this new strain of virus or whatever it's called, with this new strand, I think that the NBA knows deep down inside that, okay, we need a bubble because a bubble realistically is the safest place in the world. You're getting tested 7 to 8 times a day. You're everyone's a negative, so you can just even go get breakfast. So that you're in a safe negative space. But again, that's going to kill the revenue. That's going to kill the money. And like how I just say, money runs the NBA. Money kind of runs the world right at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the NBA is gonna do it because of the money aspect of it. And like how you said, Jay, if they take a pause, all they're going to do is take a pause and come back to the same exact coronavirus situation. So they're not going to take a pause either. They just want to reach the TV deal, get the revenue money, and whoever gets sick. And I know it sounds terrible, and it really sounds terrible, but that's what I think the NBA is doing. I think they're just going to take themselves and their money and what they want to do into account.
Nah, I mean, it's not, we just got to be realists about the situation, man. And it's really, at this point, it's just about how we got as a society and a world have to start realizing that we're going to be living with this virus for the foreseeable future. I mean, we've tried vaccines, we tried a lot of things, and it hasn't come to a solution. It's still around. And this is 2 years later and some change, man. So it's here to stay. We just gotta work through it and be kind of coexist. Unfortunately, at this point, that looks like the ultimate solution because we can't. It's too mentally straining, man. We can't go back into lockdown and all that. I don't think that's a solution, in my opinion, man. Respectfully. So, Jay, we highlighted COVID protocols and kind of like what Adam Silver's stance is on all that jazz. But let's talk about the biggest news. And we kind of highlighted it a little bit and we talked about it briefly, but we didn't really get into it too much. And that's the return of Kyrie Irving to the Brooklyn Nets, man. So first of all, Jay, there's no indication or nothing on the front of Kyrie getting the vaccination, which would allow him to play their home games, as well as, states or in Canada, I guess, is the only other team that has those protocols that don't allow you to enter a building without getting the vaccination. So, Jay, with that being said, what kind of effect does this have on the Nets organization and their stance? And originally saying that, and the team as well, and the players and the coaches saying originally that Kyrie is not going to be able to play any games. They're not allowing him. They're going to rather him sit out than go against what the team's values is. Now, 2 months later, saying that Kyrie, we need you, despite that all the stuff that's going on, we need you back on the team. We need you playing basketball. We don't care if it's for half the games or not in our home games. We won't be able to practice with us. We're not at home. Changing that stance to now, like, and going back against everything they said. To me, Jay, that looks bad. That looks awful. You're basically saying that despite, like, you can have your beliefs, Kyrie, and if you don't want to play basketball and you don't want to get a vaccination, that's good for you. And I loved the fact that they made it about them teams and had originally their stance. And now to go back on that and allow him to play, man, that's weak. That's bogus. And if you're the Brooklyn Nets, in my opinion, you should be ashamed of yourself, Jay. That's how I'm feeling it right now. To go back, it just looks so weak. But Jay, how are you feeling about this whole situation, man? I
Man,
gave my input, but bro, I'm
Man,
just sick.
Jay, I'm right there with you, man. I'm sick, dog. That is, I mean, as I'm not even gonna say as men, as just grown ups, man, women, whatever. Once you put your word on something, be about your word. Do what you say. They said in the beginning of the season, they said we don't want a part time player. You're either gonna be part of this team or you're not gonna be part of this team. Okay, exactly. And Kyrie was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna be part of the team.
Yeah.
Then. And so then they parted ways. All right, it is what it is. Whatever happened, and then the situation changed, like how you said, they're starting to lose players because of COVID, because of injuries, because of whatever it is, and now they run back to Kyrie. Not only does that make your organization look extremely weak, not only does that make you look like you have no backing and authority behind what you say, but also that gives so much power to the players. The players are like, all right, cool. Well, we can kind of do and say whatever we want. And whenever the team needs us, they gonna come running to us and it'll be all good. So honestly, I think the Brooklyn Nets the Brooklyn Nets organization pooped the bed, the bed. That was embarrassing.
That's
and
bad.
if Kyrie actually comes back and plays, it's gonna be like a stamp on their head. But yeah, you got bullied by Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving bullied you into doing exactly what he wanted you to do.
Yeah, he basically saying that the player is bigger than the organization. Hey, you didn't say that, but that's what you did and made it seem like, man. You said it, but not in those words. So it just is what it is, man. And if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you should be ashamed of yourself. So I just wanted to get your take on that, Jay. But let's push it to another disgruntled and kind of just piss poor organization, my standpoint right now. And that's the Philadelphia 76ers, Jay. And it is December 22nd, 2021. And there was talks, basically, in my opinion, and I had said it when we had Chris from the Sixers Sense on our podcast, Jay, and you remember this show, and I said, when Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid, their star player, the household name for the 76ers, said what he said and did not back up him being point guard of the future, whether they believed it or not at that time, I think that relationship was ruined. And from Ben Simmons' standpoint of mentally not wanting to play for a city and a team and a player and a coach that doesn't respect him and fail to step up for him. Honestly, as a player, bro, I don't blame him, because if I'm, the relationship is tarnished at that point, man. And I get why mentally he's not ready to play for them, man. So they need to find a home for him. That being said, Jay, there's all these rumors and stuff going around. Obviously, the Blazers said they're not interested in that deal. Another team, I forget who it was, said they're the talks for them. Forget who it was. But Jay, here's a proposal and a team that I have potentially could be a great deal for both sides of the equation, Jay. And that's with the San Antonio Spurs, Jay, and DeJounte Murray. And here's why. I'll talk about both sides of the equation. I'll see how you're feeling and what you think about this. For the Philadelphia 76ers, you need a playmaker. You need a defender. DeJounte Murray can do both, man. He's averaging double figures. He's a triple double threat on any night. Defensively, he's going to give you what Ben Simmons can do, if not better, on the perimeter. I think he's rising and rising. He's a gritty, hard-nosed, take ownership, kind of that alpha dog that they need. And then we've seen times that Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid don't like Tyrese Maxey isn't the best version of himself when he's running that first unit and starting with the Sixers. So you put him in the second unit and he can thrive. And then you bring in DeJounte Murray and have him as your starter, man. I think that's the best of both worlds. And you look at his three-point shooting, you see 33%. Obviously, that's a low number, but DeJounte Murray's not looking to take threes. He's looking to get his teammates involved. He's an elite mid-range shooter, and he's got shooters around him. You already got Seth Curry. You already got Tobias Harris, and you already got Danny Green, who are all reliable. And you can consider Steph and Danny Green kind of elite three-point shooters. Maybe not Danny Green in a clutch, as you know, but Jay, so that's why I look at it. And you can still fit that win now mode if you're the Sixers, which you need. DeJounte Murray, plug and play, makes you that much better. Flip it to for the Spurs, you bring in Ben Simmons, a disgruntled player who needs a new home, needs a new role, needs a facelift, needs a better coach who believes in him. What better coach to bring in and put him in a situation than the legend himself, Greg Popovich, Jay? And that I don't even need to say anything more than that. So, and to make it work, I looked at the salary and the numbers. The Sixers would probably need to take on Doug McDermott and Keldon Johnson, who will still add to their depth and just make them a better team, man. So, Jay, what do you got to say to that? I know that's a lot of information to take in, but what do you think about that deal just as a whole?
Honestly, Jay, I was big and I was number one fan behind, for that CJ McCollum and Ben Simmons one, as you know. But like how you said, the Blazers said we're not doing that. That's not benefiting us. So I've already thrown that out the window. But honestly, Jay, you bring this up. I really like this. I actually really like this. I think a player like DeJounte Murray would fit really nice next to Joel Embiid. Run those high pick and rolls with him. Be able to look for the lob, because like how you said, DeJounte Murray really has a good court vision to him, and right out of the pick and roll when he has the defender on his hip, he's a very good decision maker. Whether he's gonna get to the hoop and attack, or whether he's gonna look for the lob. So I think that'd actually be great, man. I think that's a not as skilled as a CJ McCollum, not as skilled as an overall player as CJ McCollum, but that's a deal where you're getting something extremely valuable, right? And then on the Spurs side of the thing, I mean, man, Jay, I really didn't even think about Ben Simmons being on the Spurs. That's honestly a great matchup, and that's a great fit for him, because not only does that give him an amazing coach like Pop, even if Pop's on his way out, that gives an amazing coach like Ben Simmons to be able to have 1 year under his belt of an amazing coach. And like, man, the change that could make is huge. I was listening to the Knuckleheads podcast with Q Rich, you know, and Q Rich, he was talking about the importance of a good coach and how that can just accelerate your years in the NBA. You know, he was talking he was talking about the fact that when he went to he had Pat Riley, and Pat Riley was just really kind of he went there his second year. He said that after he left, he felt like he was in his third or fourth year already, because he felt like he had learned so much. Pat Riley had advanced his game so much. So, you know, being around a coach like Pop, I think that can only help Ben Simmons. And more than anything, the Spurs have a very open roster. Ben Simmons could play the 1, he could play the 4, he could play the 3. He could kind of do it all on the Spurs. So that could get his trade value back up. And even if the Spurs don't want to keep him long term, they could get his trade value back up and get him out again. Because 2 years ago, Ben Simmons had a very high trade value.
Facts. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and there's I just wanted to see how you're feeling about it and gauge your just interest in that deal. And you think it just works out for both sides, or is there one team just winning? Because in my opinion, I think both teams are kind of really getting the best of both worlds. Because even if you add Ben into that mix with Spurs, I think Derek White's a great player, and he could play really well with Ben Simmons there in that backcourt. But that's just how I'm feeling on it.
Absolutely. Derek White, Lonnie Walker, they definitely got a good team over there that can fit around Ben. But for me, I would go with the Sixers. I think they'd win a little bit more, because getting a player like DeJounte Murray for the freaking Ben Simmons that nobody wants to offer anything good for, I think that's a win for the Sixers.
Yeah, it's just about if the Spurs think long term they have a better future with DeJounte or
exactly.
Ben. But I don't know. I think both sides could kind of potentially win, man. But Jay, let's talk about last night's games a little bit, and then we'll recap about Monday too, because I know we both have few games highlighted. So the first game last night was the Miami Heat with a 125-96 win over the Pacers. You know, leading the way for the Heat. Coming back with his return was Tyler Hero with 26 points, 1 rebound, 5 assists. I mean, just a huge night. Just what you need from Tyler Hero. And just one thing, you know, just real quick on that game is, you know, you've seen a lot of guys. It's that Heat culture, Jay. Time and time again, having guys depth, rotation, but guys you can plug and play. The Gabe Vincents, the Max Strusses. The Dwayne Dedmons, who's playing backup, the backup center role for Bam Adebayo, and then Omer Yurtseven, obviously playing more backup minutes and playing more minutes than Dwayne Dedmon. But you guys got that next man up mentality there in Miami because of that heat culture, that hashtag heat culture, man. So you love to see it, and that's a big win against a team you need to take care of business in those Indiana Pacers, Jay. And let's push it forward to the next game. The New York Knicks with the 105-91 win over the Detroit Pistons. Shout out Lance, make him dance. But Julius Randle with the 21 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. A lot of what Julius can do in that game, man. And then obviously Kemba Walker, who's getting back in the lineup just due to obviously all this stuff going on. And you love to see him putting in a good performance there against the Detroit Pistons, albeit not the best competition, man. The next game here, we got the 111-97 win of the New Orleans Pelicans over the Trailblazers. And what I saw in that game, Jay, is Dame time, man. Looking like he's back. Obviously, he never left, but 39 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, and then Brandon Ingram with 28 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. But the theme, Jay, in that game, man, is Dame needs more help. Like, what else is there to say? Like, he's back. He's putting in the work, man. Is it CJ McCollum? I don't know, man. But they've made it clear that they want to make things work, and with the players they got, they don't intend to move guys. We'll see. Saying it is one thing, doing is the other, man. But we'll ultimately see what happens there. Moving to the next game is the 114-102 win for the Dallas Mavericks over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, the Timberwolves without Anthony Edwards and a few more of their guys. You know, Cat with another huge game there, 26 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. Jalen Brunson, though, was the biggest performance. Obviously, with Luka still out, needed him to step up, need other guys to step up with 28 points, 6 assists, and 2 rebounds, man. Just getting it done, man. And then, Jay, I know you're going to be talking about this game, the last game of the night, and I'll let you take this one, was the 108-90 win of the Phoenix Suns over the Los Angeles Lakers, man. A lot to unpack in that game, Jay. And I'm going to let you go for it and talk about this game and what you saw in that.
Yeah, Jay, definitely a lot to unpack. And, you know, like you said, 108-90 Phoenix win. And honestly, first thing I noticed out the gate was the energy that the Lakers came out with, man. The energy the Lakers came out with, really nice energy, and it really was led by LeBron. You know, LeBron was pushing the pace, and LeBron took that early lead and took that early aggression that I was talking about a couple of episodes ago that he didn't have when that game that AD went down. LeBron only had 18 points, and LeBron wasn't aggressive and wasn't assertive like how he needs to be when your star player's out. This game, he was. You could tell by the way LeBron was playing that Anthony Davis was not out there, because he was really carrying the load, man. I mean, in the first 11 minutes, he scored 14 points, really was bringing that. And like I said, no Anthony Davis aggression. At the end of the night, he ended up with 34 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals on 68% from the field, 100% from the free throw line, and 40% from the field, man. But one man cannot do it all. The other guys is who we need to talk about. THT, Rondo, Melo, Wayne Ellington, Isaiah Thomas, all scored under 10 points. And honestly, you know, I like IT. Shout out to IT. But I think him being so inefficient, I think that's the problem. That's what got him out of the league. I mean, I get it. He's kind of on a tryout. He's on a 10-day tryout, and not just for the Lakers, for the rest of the league. The league season plan performing well, he'll be able to pick up a contract. So I get it. He's trying to put up shots. He's trying to get his, but 3 points on 9% from the field. He shot 1 of 11 from the field. At that point, you got to understand, okay, it's just not my night. At 1 of 8, at 1 of 7, you have to understand, okay, this is not my night. And let's not just keep him keep them chucking up. But just while we're talking about the bench, I do want to just give a cool little shout out to Ariza, man. It was definitely good to see Trevor Ariza out there. Definitely brought some good bench production. 12 points, 5 rebounds. Did not miss a shot from the three or from the field, man. So that's just that good, efficient bench production that you want to see, man. But I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, what I saw from the Lakers was that the Lakers needed to push the pace, man. Every time that the Lakers were pushing the pace, running in transition, having Bron run the lanes instead of having Bron be the guy with the ball initiating the offense. Let Rondo, let THT, let other players initiate the offense and allow Bron to run in transition, because that's when the Lakers were most effective, man. And in the half court set, they needed to run with LeBron, a pick and roll with LeBron as the roll man, because with LeBron as the roll man, LeBron with the that gets the ball and has the options whether to attack or whether to kick to open shooters. I think that's an insanely smart role man to have. But at the end of the day, man, it just I didn't see enough aggression, and I just know that 1-on-5 it isn't enough, man. I mean, in today's league, I don't care who you are, I don't care how good you are. You need at least three very good. You need 3 very good players or 2 generational talents to really be a dominant team in this league. And right now, the other guys just aren't bringing it, and it's all really all up to LeBron right now, and that's really scary because you don't want to leave it all up to a 37-year-old man, even though he's Iron Man, Superman, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
Jay, what do you got some thoughts about that game on the Suns side of things?
Yeah, absolutely, man. From the Suns, first I'll talk about the Suns part of things, and then I'll talk about the Lakers. But in terms of the Suns, man, just one of the best teams right now. It's just the Lakers, it's the Warriors, not the Lakers. It's the Suns and the Warriors, man. The Suns are playing at such an extremely high level, man, and the box score and the game charts say kind of everything about that last night. I mean, first of all, outsisting the Lakers 29-14. Obviously, you got to make shots to get assists, but just the ball movement, the level that all the guys are playing, led by CP, getting other guys involved, turning up good shots for great shots. And that's just been a recipe of success for the Suns. And we saw that on full display last night against the Lakers. Obviously, they were throwing punches and countering last night at home at the crypto.com center arena or whatever it's called last night. But just a lot of that. But I saw early on that the Suns, it was a tight game in the first half for the most part. And then we saw them just put it on them after Carmelo got ejected there in the second half when they were down up 6 points. But a lot of, to me, was just, I thought that the Suns were just, despite the score, were in control of that game the whole time. I mean, I just thought clearly, especially an undermanned team like the Lakers without AD. But I just thought the Suns were just in total control. And a lot of people had said last year when they beat them in the playoffs that that was a lot to do with AD, obviously LeBron being injured. But come to think about it and come to see now, and obviously they're a better team than they were at that point. But I just think that the Suns and the way they play, the style that they play, is a bad matchup ultimately for the Lakers. Styles make fights. And I just think in terms of the roster makeup and the depth and what the Suns players can do off the bench, even their starters, I just think it's a bad matchup just all around for the Lakers. And I feel like that's why they struggle so much when they play each other, because it's just a bad matchup. You look at top to bottom, the bigs, the guard play. It's just a lot to ask for LeBron at his age, especially. I just feel like he's the only good matchup. If you look at 1 through 5, man, with this is obviously without AD being in there, man. I think it's just a bad matchup, and that's just exactly why it was close for a little bit. Then we saw them pull away, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. What about the Suns for you, man?
And then I mean, you touched on everything for the Suns, and I mean, the only thing I want to add in there was that DeAndre Ayton really just took advantage of no AD. Like as you're watching the Lakers on offense and defense, it really just kind of seemed like there was a big gap in the middle of the floor, and and I mean, as a Lakers fan, and just anybody who's very like who's been watching the Lakers games, you know that huge ass gap is supposed to be filled by AD right there in the middle holding it down, and just DeAndre Ayton took playing advantage of that. No one could really contest him on his rolls to the hoop. Every time he would set a pick and roll, they would throw it high, and DeAndre Ayton doesn't have the, I mean, not DeAndre, DeAndre Jordan doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with him. Dwight Howard is in health and safety protocols. AD wasn't there. Everybody else, DeAndre Ayton's too tall for, so he kind of just put his hands up. Nobody was nearly as tall and as athletic. Just kind of took advantage of them. Kind of reminded me of that Suns and Warriors game that DeAndre Ayton was taking advantage of the fact that he was the tallest player, and then nobody with the foot speed and keep up with him, man. So that definitely just a dominant performance from the Suns, man, and just watch out, man. Just watch out for the Suns. Like I keep telling myself that every single time I watch Suns games.
So Jay, about the Lakers, man, and what I saw. First of all, in terms of the Lakers, man, they're sitting at 16-16 right now. And I think that's a perfect indication of the level that they played about. You talked a lot about inconsistency, and that's exactly what the Lakers have. Obviously, they haven't had the same lineup and haven't been able to see the same players, man. But I've seen enough, me just in my opinion, right? Have seen enough from AD, LeBron, and Westbrook all together. And my concerns of having them at the 3 seed, which I see now was way too high with them, and all the concerns about getting rid of all the depth that they had to bring in Westbrook. I think it's coming to fruition, man. All those concerns are being highlighted, and it's kind of being exposed. Like he had a good stat line. If you look at just the box scores, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. But as we know, John, and as anyone who knows basketball, stats and box scores don't always tell the whole story, man. And that's exactly what we've seen from Westbrook the whole season, man. And I think the Lakers just are a mediocre to above average team at best. You add Anthony Davis back into the mix, man. I still don't think the Lakers are deep enough. I think they got 2 great players when they're playing at their best. LeBron James obviously is one of the greatest to do it, and he's showing that, proving that night in, night out. He did it again last night. But for them to be successful, Anthony Davis has to be at his best as well, and he has not been that this season. Obviously, he's injured now. We don't know what he's going to even look like when he comes back from a knee injury. So I think it's not looking good for the Lakers right now. This was just another showing, another display. And I also got to say, why is DeAndre Jordan starting over Dwight Howard, man? What is David Fitzdale like? Did Frank Vogel tell him not to start him? Like, I just don't know what's going. Getting a do not play, man. It just baffles me. These rotations, man, Jay. I don't know. It's just frustrating, even as a fan, man. Like you have a better player and you're playing DeAndre. Maybe just get rid of this whole staff. I don't know, man. Rob Pelinka, they did a good job of putting that roster together in the bubble, Jay. And ever since, he hasn't done, like, in my opinion, he's made all bad moves. But I don't know, man. That's the little rant I got to go on it, Jay. I don't know how you're feeling as a Laker fan.
Dwight's in health and safety protocol, so that's why Dad started DeAndre Jordan. I agree. I mean, if Dwight was out there and DeAndre Jordan was starting, I think that'd be a problem.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's the only reason that DeAndre Jordan started. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Jay. I mean, what you said. What you said at this point, the only thing I want to push back on is that, you said when they're at their best, they only have 2 great players out there. I think that when Westbrook's at his best, he's a great player, like a great player. But Westbrook can't just be constantly at his best every single night because then when he's at his best, he's a great player, but he's taking a lot of shots and taking shots away from people, and he's finding people. So I think when the Lakers are at their best, they have 3 dominant great players. And then the only thing I do want to add, and I'm right there on all the same concerns from as you. Only thing I do want to add is that and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Lakers fan. Like, no, I just genuinely saying this as a basketball fan. Like, I do still see it very difficult to knock out the Lakers in the playoffs. I think they're going to be a tough outing in the playoffs just because that's a very experienced playoff team. Like Melo has playoff experience, LeBron has playoff experience, Rondo has playoff experience, AD has playoff experience, and all these guys. And we know that when you get to that level, when you get to that point, and Paul Pierce was even talking about it on All the Smoke. He said, when you get to the playoffs, yes, like you need a young guys to have energy and to do it, but you also need the older guys, the vet guys that's been there and knows where to be mentally. And I think that a lot of them that's where they have the advantage of people is they have the retirement home. So, but let's see if they can get there.
Yeah. No, I mean I agree with you. Like being in the playoffs is a fact, but Jay, that's a bit like I don't think I think they may make the playoffs, but they're sitting at the 7th seed right now.
Whoa, Jay.
And you look at no. You look at let me finish. Look at where they're at right now. They're in the 7th seed. They're in the playing game. Now you look at Anthony Davis being out for a month. I'm just saying like best case scenario and how it's working out and what they're working with right now, Jay. So they have to play. Right now they're in the playing game. That's just what it is. I'm not saying that they might end up there. I'm saying so you're 16. There's a top 4 seeds. I'd say the Suns, the Warriors, and the Jazz, and then maybe you throw in the Grizzlies. I think those top 3 teams are going to play kind of musical chairs and to see who gets the 1st, 2nd, 3rd seed. Then you look at the 5th seed, the 6th seed, the 7th seed, the 8th seed. You got the Denver Nuggets at 15 and 14. You got the Los Angeles Clippers at 16 and 15. You got the Lakers at 16 and 16, 500. You got the Mavericks at 15 and 15, 500. You got the Timberwolves at 15 and 16. So all those 4 teams, those 5 teams right there in the middle, this bungled up. And then you got Anthony Davis out for 4 weeks, man. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. There might be a play-in team. That's all I'm saying. So it's going to be tough. And then you add in that wear and tear on a guy like AD who's coming off injuries. We know that he struggles with injuries. I'm not going to use the word injury prone. And then LeBron James, who is 36 years old, turning 37, man, as you said on the last episode, man, that's a lot of wear and tear and a lot of fight to win, possibly if they're the 8 or 9 seed or 9 or 10 seed, winning 1 game, winning 2 just to get into the playoffs, man. It's just concerning for me looking at from the outside perspective, and you add that and then you try to win a 7-game series. It's just a lot of wear and tear. That's all I'm saying, man.
It's
a lot of mileage. For the what did you say? The retirement home. It's a lot of mileage. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's definitely a lot of mileage, but I mean, looking at the seating, I mean, yeah, like how you said, 1, 2, and 3 is probably going to keep playing musical chairs with each other and kind of keep switching. But the Lakers aren't far off from being the 5th seed. The Lakers aren't far off, and I don't see them having a trouble with any team from the 4th seed. For any team besides the Jazz, the Suns, and Warriors, I don't see the Lakers having trouble beating in a 7-game series. I don't see them having a hard time at all because it's not like the Lakers are the only team facing these COVID protocols. Not like AD is the only player missing in the league. So I really don't see, even if it comes down to a play-in situation, I don't see the Lakers really having a hard time and like struggling to put out any of these teams. The only thing that I see him really having a hard time against would be a Rudy Gobert Jazz, DeAndre Ayton Suns, and on fire Stephen Curry Warriors. So I think that's the only team. The rest of the teams in the league don't think would be too much of a challenge for them. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? No team you can just go out there and just won't just lay down and let you beat them, man. So yeah, if they landed that playing situation, it'll definitely be more mileage. But I don't think it'll be a problem for the Lakers over there as long as Frank's gone.
Okay. We're gonna have to disagree to or whatever you call it.
Agree to disagree,
Jay. I think they're gonna. They're gonna make the playoffs, but I think they're gonna have some trouble. Maybe that's a big maybe too. I think like playing game. I think they're for sure gonna be in the playing game, in my opinion. But
let me ask you this.
We'll see.
Let me just ask you this: Do you think they're a serious, scary playoff team? or no?
Right now, the way that they're playing and
Just your
that
prediction when it gets to
realistically,
playoffs.
no, I don't think. I think
Wow.
they're a good team. They can maybe take 2 or 3, maybe 2 games off. Because right now, I think there'd be a bottom 6 or 7 or 8 seed right
But
now.
play, but
I
playoffs,
so that means
7 game series.
that means that means they're playing Golden State, Phoenix, or Utah. I think either and all 3 of those teams are beating them in a 7 game series. So what do you mean by like scary? Like they'll win some games. They might bring them to 7 games. I think they can bring them to maybe 6 or 7 games, maybe against those teams. I think Phoenix or Golden State's beating them in 6 at most.
Mm, that's
That's
tough.
what that's you asked me.
No,
That's
no,
you
no,
asked me
no. I
that.
hear,
That's
no, I
my
hear.
answer.
I'm looking at the standings and I'm just saying, I don't know. I really, I'm having a hard time saying that the Clippers will have a better season than them when it goes down to 82 game season. Like the Clippers, the same way the Lakers are missing the best player, so are the Clippers, and the Clippers are point guard list. So I don't know. I don't know if the Clippers going to be able to stay in that 60 man. But all right, Jay.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of mumble. Though that like 5 through 8 seed or 5 through even 9, you throw the Timberwolves in there, man. It's just bundled up right now. So who
once
knows who's going to come out of that, man? It could be the Lakers. It's going to be tough without Anthony Davis, so they got to weather that storm. The Nuggets got to weather without Jamal Murray. I believe in Jokic. The Clippers, obviously, they got a mountain to climb there. Who knows how long Luka's going to be out, but those teams right there, man, there's a lot of just mixing and mashing that's going to be going on, a lot of musical chairs. So let's see how that happens. Let's revisit it in maybe 2 weeks and let's see what the standings are like at that point, man. But yeah, Jay, let's move it on, man. That was a great discussion about that. So real quick, Jay, we'll talk about Monday the 20th games and recap them real quick. So the first game of the night, which we're going to talk about in more depth after this, is the 76ers with the 108-103 win versus the Boston Celtics in Boston. Obviously, Joel Embiid with 41 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. And I have an interesting take about the center situation, too, in the league after that one. But yeah, maybe already. But next game we got of the night was the Chicago Bulls with the 133-118 win versus the Houston Rockets. This box score of the night for me was DeMar, your guy, with 26 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, continues to do it, have put in together an all NBA season. Next up, Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, we already talked about that with the 102-99 win versus the Grizzlies. Josh Giddey with 19 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds. I think he's proven all those doubters wrong, man. He's putting together a great season, just showing off his flashy and creativeness night to night, man. The next game was the Utah Jazz with the 112-102 win versus the Charlotte Hornets. We got Rudy Gobert with a huge night, 23 points, 21 rebounds. Going 15 of 16 from the free throw line. Man, that's a historic night in my opinion, bro. Like Rudy's putting together a great season. Is a lot to do with the success of the Jazz. Next game of the night was the Golden State Warriors with the 113-98 win over the Sacramento Kings. The stat line of the night was Mr. Draymond Green with 16 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. Messed around, got a triple-double. Huge night for Dre. The next game of the night was the San Antonio Spurs with the 116-92 win over the Los Angeles Clippers. Obviously, you talked about the Clippers starting to falter or lose some games, and this is just another indication. But not to take anything away from the Spurs, I think they're a better team than the record indicates at 12-18, man. They're well coached, obviously, and DeJounte Murray, another triple-double, a guy we talked about earlier, man. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. I think the Sixers could use him, Jay, man. But anyways, let's talk more in depth about this Philadelphia 108-103 victory over the Celtics, man. I know you got some notes and things you want to highlight in that one.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, let's just talk about Joel Embiid. Honestly, every time I talk about Joel, I always say the big motherfucker Joel Embiid because, bro,
Yeah.
like that, he is so big and dominant out there, man. You said it,
Mhm.
Jay. 41 points, 10 rebounds, 51% from the field. 12 of 14 from the free throw line. So he's extremely aggressive. And man, when you say that like somebody got bullied, like if you watch that game, what he did to Ennis Freedom, aka Ennis Cantor, was the definition of bullying somebody. He got it from wherever it is that he wanted. If he wanted it in the
Yeah.
low post, he got it.
Freedom.
Freedom. If he
Took
wanted it in
away his freedom.
took away. Man, Jay, he was getting it wherever. It was free
He
for him. It was
was.
free for Joel. And whether if
It
it was in the
was.
post, whether if it was mid range, whether if it was in the
All you could
perimeter,
eat.
all you could eat buffet. That's say it again, Jay. He came in, man. And he honestly, what was most impressive to me is that coming into the fourth quarter, he had 24 points and he ended up with 41 points, man. So this is an extremely dominant fourth quarter performance. And as I was watching the game, Jay, honestly, I just looked at myself and I was like, man, I think Joel Embiid might be one of my favorite players to watch when he's on fire because he knows what to do. He knows how to make the right decisions out of the double teams. He knows when to attack. And honestly, he's just been on fire. Though. I mean, this past couple of weeks, I mean, he had 42 on the Wolves, 43 on the Hornets, 32 on the Nets. And I mean, this is if you look at how Joel Embiid and 76ers have been playing, this is this is how deadly they're supposed to be out of the pick and roll. You know, like I want to definitely give all my credit to Joel Embiid, but Joel Embiid would not have been able to have this game and these games that he's been able to have if it has not been for Seth Curry and Tobias Harris. They have been a huge production and a huge part of why he's able to do this. And the reason why I say that is because of those pick and rolls. A lot of Joel Embiid's buckets is coming off the rolls out of the pick and rolls because either if you're the other team, you got a Joel Embiid and Seth Curry pick and roll. What are you going to do? You're either going to double Joel Embiid and leave a great shooter like Seth Curry open for a mid-range or for a three. He's going to knock down. Or you're not going to double Joel Embiid. And that's barbecue chicken if you don't double Joel Embiid, man. Mm-hmm. So that's why I've been pushing it. And I know we talked about it a little bit, that CJ McCollum thing. That's why I've been pushing that so bad. Because can you imagine instead of Seth Curry and Tobias Harris coming off the screen, you got CJ McCollum. Man, that would just be a game changer, man. That would make the Sixers deadly on the pick and roll, on the lob, on the three, on the the off the dribble pull up, man. That just honestly, watching that game definitely made me feel like I really need to see CJ in the Sixers uniform. But shout out to Seth, shout out to Tobias. Tobias definitely did their things. But what did you see from the game, Jay?
Yeah, no, I think like you said, Joel is as much as he can do. Like as much as he can do is with the help, the supporting cast, and Toby and Seth stepped up for the Sixers. And that was a huge reason of why they were successful and were able to pull out that victory. Boston's a tough place to play. You're not going to get some calls. You're not going to get a lot of things there. So and obviously there was a delay in the game too. So to stay focused, stay ready to play was huge for those guys. Stay locked in, and Joel just realized that the matchup, they had no answer for him. Robert Williams was out that night, and he saw freedom, and he knew he was going to go at him and get his because they had no answer for them. They throw a double, and when guys and the outside guys are hitting like that, then you're not going to win games, man. You're not going to be able to beat the Sixers team. And that was without Tyrese Maxey too. So maybe he was getting a little more touches and guys were feeling the ball and be able to massage it a little more than they would have naturally had to, because, Tyrese Maxey is obviously a, ball dominant guard. But let me talk about a little bit of just about, the Celtics and what I saw from them. Obviously, from you look to the Celtics and the way that they got to win and the way that they have made it clear that they're going to win is through their two guys, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And what did they do and how did they play? Jaylen Brown, you look at it just from the field goal aspects, 9 for 22 from the field, 40%. That's 30 points still that's not going to get it done. That kind of efficiency, especially when a guy like Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and South Carey on the other end are getting it done and getting their work in. And then you look at the guy, and Jay, who I always talk about in that team, who I think is a better player, and that's Jason Tatum, going 5 from 14, 35% from the field, man. 17 points. That's definitely not going to get it done, especially as a guy who I believe is their number one option. And we've seen that clear in a lot of games. Who was playing more efficiently, shooting the ball from a higher effective clip, man. But to have those two guys have those kind of nights, Jaylen Brown, obviously 30 points, that's cool. But on 40% efficiency, that's not going to get it done. And especially not from Jason Tatum, who took less shots and was less efficient, man. Not going to get it done, especially at home against a team like the 76ers, Jay. But that's just what I saw. And then obviously Enes Kanter getting cooked doesn't help anything. So and it's Freedom Kanter.
Honestly, Jay,
you got your freedom, dog.
Like, honestly, Jay, I was watching that, and that was like, when you're at the park and you're just watching like OG just bully some kid, like that's really what it felt like. Like Joel Embiid was just putting his shoulder into his chest and moving him out the way every single time. It was impressive, honestly. I think it's a good place for us to go ahead and wrap it up here, Jay. Another great episode. Hidden takes. I mean, Jay, honestly, these are just starting to just be fire every week, Jay. Just every week, just constantly, you go to every single week. You got two dropping. You got one. You got one on the week, and then one in the middle of the week, and one in the beginning and end of the week, man. So we just fired, Jay, man. But you got any last words you want to say here before we sign off here?
No, man. No, great episode. We love bringing you guys content. If continue to support us, we always appreciate. Follow us on @ClutchTalkPod on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can just follow us @ClutchTalk. Capital CLUTCH, capital TALK for those of you who need help spelling, man. We appreciate the support, man. Get at us. If you got any questions, concerns, things you want us to add to the show, things you want us to highlight, get at us. Get us in DMs, comments, man. We always appreciate it, man, getting your feedback and everything. And as usual, give us a 5-star review if you're feeling us, if you're messing with us on all of those on YouTube. Give us a like, man. We appreciate it. Yeah, man. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, man. Jay said it all, man. But that's it, man. We out of here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.
Peace.